find it written in the sky. You can't buy to get to.
Welcome to BuildRSA Build of the Month. I'm Mr. Zareef Minty. Please tell us about yourself. Who is Zareef Minty?
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me on the platform. And I'd like to just introduce myself. I am 29 years old. So I'm a best-selling author in South Africa. I've released, one book. My second book's about to come out. I've also made the Forbes Africa 30 under 30 list in 2018. I've been on a leadership show on SABC1 many years back called One Day Leader. I was on season 4. I ended up winning season 4 on One Day Leader. I'm a lawyer by profession. I studied at Wits University. And, I've made a few different accolades or lists, like, for example, the Mail and Guardian Top 200 list. I've also made the Entrepreneurs Top 30 list. But, one of my recent achievements and something I'm very proud and excited for, so I've just been recently announced as the CEO of AfriBiz Media. Now, AfriBiz Media is a multi-billion rand company in South Africa. And we do have huge plans. Look at Youth Month is coming up now. We're looking at the month of June. The 16th of June is Youth Day in particular. So it's very important that, young people are leading in South Africa. So it's such a great opportunity to be the CEO at 29 years old. And I'm very, grateful and humbled by that opportunity.
Congratulations on your appointment, Mr. Zareef. I think you did mention something about your books. You said you have 2 books already. And the other one is already out.
Yeah, so there's one book out at the moment. The second one's about to come out, but they're in 2 different genres, right? Like the one came out at 19. I was very young. It's called Empire. So Empire is a book about self-development. It's a book about, changing the mindset of young people, motivation, inspiration, a lot in those spaces, And I just want to share a story with you as well when it comes to Empire. So I wanted to get it published through a publishing house or publishing company. Had my book ready, sent it out to all of the different publishing houses. I sent it out to about 17 of them. I got 17 no's. Every single one of them said no. I got the fastest email I've ever received in my life was from a publisher that said, listen, unfortunately, we're not interested. And the main reason was because of age, right? They looked at my age and they thought, okay, you're 19. What do you know about mindset changes? What do you know about self-development? And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have in South Africa. Is the age factor. The age factor stops and limits so many South Africans because you look at young people, a lot of them have to have experience, even when it comes to getting into the workplace or whatever. There's so much of requirements. For example, you have to have 3 years of experience before you can take a certain position. We don't give young people enough responsibility and enough platform to grow. So, funny enough, at that point, DJ Spoo is a huge mentor of mine as well and a role model I look up to. And he spoke to us about self-publishing. Self-publishing at that point wasn't something that was very well known. I decided to self-publish my book, and within a month and a half, my book became a bestseller in South Africa. And I just want to share that story with you because at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that everyone has to believe in your vision. If you believe in yourself, if you think you have what it takes to be an amazing author, then, go out and do it and don't stop yourself as well. So I think it's such an important conversation to have. But then my second book's about to come out now. It's actually called The Secret to Finding Love. It's more of a relationship book. And I actually did it with a co-author of mine who is actually a love coach in that sense. So she's a little bit older than me. She has a family, an amazing family, kids. And we just felt like it's important for us to speak to young people about relationships today. We're seeing so many people getting divorced. We're seeing so much of those issues in the country and in the world. It's so important that we build up traditional high quality relationships. So that's the whole concept of the book, and the book is going to be released very soon in your leading bookstores nationwide, so like your Exclusive Books, your CNA, and many other bookstores as well.
You did also mention that at 29, you were appointed the CEO. You were announced the CEO of AfriBiz
Media, that's correct. Yes.
Right. So in short, what would you say are the main products or services offered by the business? So
AfriBiz Media is practically going to change the game. It's a disruption on another level. It's about innovation. At the end of the day, we want to be the one-stop shop when it comes to media. So, anything to do with your basic services that most media companies offer, like your branding, when it comes to social media management, comes to SEO management, or whatever it might be. It's everything that people offer, having it housed in one platform. But away from that, we also don't just look at a South African perspective. We have, relationships with global stars around the world. People that have supported and endorsed us already are people like the likes of Akon, for example, who's very well known. He's doing phenomenal things when it comes to solar energy in Africa. You look at people like Jordan Belfort, who people know as the Wolf of Wall Street, right? People like that have come out publicly to support us. People like Huda Beauty, for example, who runs the biggest, cosmetic brand in the whole of the UAE. So she's probably going to become the second most successful business in the UAE after Careem. Now, Careem is their version of Uber, and that was their own unicorn business in the UAE. So it reached $1 million as a company that's housed in the UAE. I believe that Huda Beauty will probably become the second business that becomes a unicorn company that's actually housed in the UAE. So we have support in that sense. People really believe in what we do. We've done phenomenal, business transactions. We've already purchased about 14 platforms. Remember, the company have just been announced about a day ago, but we've been signing deals for the last few days already. We've been working really, really hard, and it's our whole idea is to acquire and to be able to build and control the mindset of people, and to control and build the mindset of people. So at the end of the day, we do have about 14 platforms right now. We're looking at building more and more of those platforms, as well as acquiring more of those platforms. But ideally, the whole purpose is for us to be able to show South Africa and show Africa to the world in such a way where people from the UAE, from the UK, from the US, actually some of your biggest brands sit down and say, no, we can't do our PR and marketing and our branding without working with this company from South Africa, without working with AfriBiz Media. And I think that's our plan of action.
This is interesting. You seem to be international. You seem to be out there. What is the capacity?
So, we remember this platform was just created very recently. The company was just announced very recently. I was announced as the CEO. It is a division of AfriBiz Invest. Now, everyone knows AfriBiz Invest is a massive multi-billion-rand company, from construction to infrastructure. So we are in the process of building the platform. But at the same time, our capacity already is sitting at quite a large number. We have about 3 offices at this very moment. We're down in Rivonia, right here in Grayston Drive, as well as in Paulshof. But then we also have a 4th office in the UAE. So we're actually based in the Business Bay in the United Arab Emirates. So we are looking at expanding, and that does speak to our Vision 2030, where we do planning on opening up offices in almost every single country in Africa, and then obviously having a stronghold in the Middle East. So be it Qatar, be it Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Lebanon, and many other countries as well.
Interesting. And what would you say is your selling point, your unique selling point?
I think the idea is that South Africa doesn't have that. It's it's unique in the sense that it just firstly doesn't exist. We don't have a one-stop shop. There's no company in South Africa right now as a media company that can sit down and say that they can offer what we offer. And I'm not saying that in the sense of being egotistical or boastful. It's just facts. Like, we have to look at what we can offer and look at any of our competitors, and none of them can. And it's just facts. So I think that's our selling point, is that we just offer things that no one else can offer in South Africa.
So, and what would you say it makes your products and services more attractive? I hear you already mentioned a unique selling point,
yes,
right? And that's all interesting. But what would you say are make your products and services more attractive?
I think it's also the network and the community that comes with it, right? So the people that we do, end up working with, your very high-profile business people, your very high-profile companies, and I think power of association comes into play. So people want to be supported by the best. They want to be run by the best. They want to have the best people working for them or working on their brands. So at the end of the day, if everyone knows that the work that we've done is phenomenal, people don't want to risk. Something like your brand is the most important thing when it comes to a business, because one wrong move, we all know what happens on social media. One mistake can damage your brand completely. You can move from being profitable to being, in a lot of trouble just because of a mistake that you make through communication or whatever it might be. So I think people at the end of the day understand that they want to go with the best option, but they also want to go with someone that they trust. And I feel like our company comes from so much of value in the work that we've done, as well as the type of people we work with, that the power of association comes into play. Because a high-profile person believes in us, another person would easily follow suit, because they know that that person would never work with a company like ours if they didn't trust us.
If you could highlight what has been your biggest success to date, and what challenges do you still face?
So the company itself is quite relatively new. I think so far our biggest success would be the fact that, I've literally been in office for about a few hours now, but we've signed off about 14 platforms. So we've already acquired 14 platforms that are global platforms around the world. Stuff like Dubai Daily. So now we actually have a footprint not only in South Africa, but also in the UAE. We have Dubai Daily, we have Cover Page News, we have Santon Daily. We've actually purchased quite a large number of platforms already. And I think we've already looking at purchasing a magazine in the next few days, and then purchasing a TV program, a TV platform, actually, a massive TV platform in South Africa. So our plan is definitely, along the lines of, like I said, acquisition. But away from that, yeah, I think it's been such a beautiful journey so far for the last few hours. And I'm really looking forward to the next few years, without a doubt.
And what challenges do you still face?
So I feel like challenges are always going to be there. Like I did mention a little bit earlier in the interview, was the age factor. I think the fact that I'm 29, I think ideally when it comes to billion-rand companies, I'm probably the youngest CEO that's running a company like this. So people are going to obviously sit down. I think I got a question very earlier this morning actually from a journalist asking me like, what are you going to say to all the naysayers? You're 29 years old. Most of your CEOs are 50, 60, 70 years old. They've been running businesses for years and years and years. How are you going to make this thing work? You're 29 years old. You don't know everything. And they've had that conversation with me as a journalist. So I think that's the problem in South Africa, and it's something that we need to change. We're so scared to give responsibility to young people, and we spoke about this, and I think that needs to change now. And I think I'm going to play a very important role, very much like what Batu has played a role when it comes to the retail market. People never thought it's possible for a South African brand, like a footwear brand, to exist and thrive in South Africa. But then you get Theo Baloy, who came out and made it look easy, And I want more people like that to exist, because we need people out there. We need more Theo Baloys. We need more people that are young like myself. We need people in government that can actually make decisions for young people. Because if you're looking at stats in South Africa, right, and we look at, we know next year's the voting comes into play. The elections are happening in 2024, and you're looking at the number of young people that are eligible to vote under the age of 35. Alone, just that group of people, if they voted for a political party, that party would be the ruling party in South Africa. So young people determine how the South Africa is going to run. They determine the future of South Africa, but we're not giving them the responsibility to lead and make decisions for other young people. So I think that needs to change. I think that's going to be a challenge I'm definitely going to get for the next few months or the next few years. But if eventually, as we start achieving more and more successes are out there, I feel like even the conversation now with Batu, I don't think people ever sit down with Theo and ask him, what's your challenges? Because his challenges disappeared. People know that he has the capacity to do it. I feel like I just need to go through the process, and maybe a year from now, I don't think anyone would be asking me those questions anymore. Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of young people who look up to you. What message would you like to give to them?
So I think there's so many, right? And I just want to start off with the first one. I think when we're looking at how entrepreneurship works in South Africa, so we know that corporate life exists out there, and we have a huge unemployment rate. So we look at the unemployment rate in South Africa, it's about 36%. You look at the youth unemployment rate in South Africa, and it's sitting close to almost 70%. So almost 70% of our young people currently are unemployed. So that means if you're looking at it in the safest perspective, 1 in every 2 people are sitting at home right now when it comes to our youth that are unemployed. Now we're looking at that stat in South Africa. It's quite a problem stat. It's a problematic stat. But we need to understand that entrepreneurship becomes the solution. So that's why you look at Africa as a continent, everyone speaks about it. Africa is going to be the continent that has the most or the largest number of SMMEs based on its population to business ratio, because we don't have enough capacity to employ people. The corporates are not doing very well in South Africa. We're having issues. A lot of companies are, retrenching. We're seeing that happening. So yeah, as a company, you can go out and do your best to employ 20 or 30 more people, but it's not going to make a difference in the big scheme of things. What we need to do as young people is that we need to encourage SMMEs in South Africa. So all the young people out there, go, if you don't have an opportunity in corporate and it's not something that you're passionate about, go and open up a business. And the whole thing is that as a country, we need to support these young businesses, right? Because if we support them, what happens in SMMEs is that they end up employing their peers. So you'll end up seeing someone, for example, that's elevating their business will employ 5 or 6 people in their community. And that's how we're going to beat unemployment. I really think it's an important conversation to have. But I want young people to know that the journey isn't easy, right? You're going to get 1,000 no's before you get 1 yes in particular. And those 1,000 no's are just part of the process, right? Like, you have to understand that every single no is bringing you closer to your yes, but also is teaching you phenomenal and very exceptional skills that you're going to learn through those no's. I mean, if I didn't get no's when I was younger, for example, with my book, I would have never really went into self-publishing and today being a best-selling author. So everything directs you in the right direction. And I don't think anyone should be pressurized with social media either. Social media exists. We have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have all these different platforms. People are showing showcasing their beautiful houses and their nice cars. I want young people not to feel that pressure. I don't think it's needed in South Africa. I think we need to use social media for the right reasons, right? We need to use social media to inspire and motivate young people. We need them to use a platform to be a positive response to them and not a negative thing. Because what people do, and a lot of young people in schools and universities, what they end up doing is that they compare themselves to these people who are on social media, who have these big houses and big cars, and it leads to depression, it leads to sadness, it leads to teenage suicides, and we don't have the place in South Africa to allow that to happen anymore. So all the young people out there that really want to build their businesses, they need to understand that it's going to be a rocky road, but don't ever worry about the pressures of social media. Don't worry about people saying no to you. Just if you be persistent, be consistent, and believe in yourself. I think that's one of the most important things, validation. We talk about validation so much in South Africa. We look for validation from people around us. You'll ask a friend, do you think I should start this business? Your friend does not have your mindset, and your friend's not supposed to have your mindset. Your friend is your friend for a reason. They provide you a certain support base. Do you know what I'm saying? They don't know your ambitions. They don't know your mindset. So asking them on whether they think you should start this business isn't a great idea. You look for validation within yourself. Look for validation with your mentors, people who genuinely are there to see you succeed in that specific genre that you want to get into. When you're looking for mentors, don't look for mentors that don't just have one mentor. Have multiple mentors. Because I can sit down and say, I might be great at one thing, but I'm horrible at 5 other things. I don't want you to learn those 5 other things that I'm horrible at. Do you know what I'm saying? So when you're looking for mentors, look for mentors in every single aspect of your life. Get a life mentor, get a business mentor, get a relationship mentor. You know what I mean? And I think it's important for young people to understand that no one's perfect in the world. You are going to go through a journey, and no one will hold you accountable for your difficult years when you do succeed. So go out there, put as much effort as you can. There is a blueprint out there for young people to learn from business people out there. They work extremely hard, but they work smart, And I think if young people can just be persistent and consistent, anything's possible.
You mentioned that your company is more supported internationally. I think that South Africans, or our youth that is listening to you now when you're advising them, they're now starting to wonder that we are not really getting assistance that we're looking for in South Africa. And Zareef is here telling us about the international countries that have supported their company and what they do right. How would you advise them? What is it you can say to them or tell them that they should do to rather be able to get assistance from the international countries?
Yeah, so South African people need to understand that we love them. We love South Africans. We love every single South African. And that's why we exist as AfriBiz Media. I'm going to make it my mission to employ young people, employ people from disadvantaged communities that are based in South Africa. I'm going to employ young people. I'm going to employ women. I'm going to employ people with disabilities. I'm going to open up opportunities for people. What we're saying is that we're doing it the opposite way to a lot of mistakes that people are making. You see, in South Africa, unfortunately, we do so many things wrong, and I'm going to hold the state accountable for that. We go and import chickens from Brazil, right? Something we can do easily in South Africa. We have the farms, we have the resources. Why are we going and importing things? So in other words, we're taking money from South Africa and putting it into the Brazil economy. I know we have relationships with BRICS or whatever it might be, but it's not sufficient. We should be doing those things internally. What we're saying is we're going to go out and get global clients. So we're going to get clients from the UK, from the US, from the UAE, and we're bringing their money into South Africa. And we're going to develop South African people using global money. And that's exactly our plan of action. So what we're doing is it's gonna empower people, it's gonna inspire people. We're gonna create job opportunities for a lot of people, a lot of young people. But I did make it one of my missions when I did agree to come on board as the CEO of AfriBiz Media, was I said that at least 80% of my team, and I'm talking about the extended team as well, has to be under the age of 35. Because young people at the end of the day, and I know it's a very important conversation to have, because young people, especially in the media space, we need to understand in which space we're in, right? I understand with mining, there's a different conversation because obviously experience comes into play. A lot of your platforms today, like TikTok, like Instagram, like understanding influencer marketing, it's for young people by young people. We need to understand that. You can't get someone who doesn't understand the concept of influencer marketing heading up a division like that. So Young people are going to be resonating within the company. We're going to make sure that we empower people. I don't want people that have, I want to open up opportunities for those incredible gems out there that would never have the same opportunity. So, I mean, just touching on a little bit on this, there's a 1% in South Africa, and we need to speak about it. There's a 1% that actually gets all the knowledge, they get all the expertise, they get all the exposure. So they get the opportunity to be mentored by the best people out there. I want to open up that 1% to everyone. I want people that are in disadvantaged communities, whether you come from Lenasia, you come from El Dorado Park, you come from Tembisa, those people who never get the opportunity to be part of the 1%, we want to open up those opportunities and exposure to them. And I think that's so important. We want those people to learn and be able to become employable so that we can give them the opportunity to learn. So I think for us, it goes well beyond just owning a media company. It's also about empowering and impacting the country that we exist in. And I think that's what happens with a lot of your unicorn companies. They really invest in developing within that country that they came from. So you see it with Kareem in the UAE. You see it with Huda Beauty, for example, in the UAE, but you also see it in many other countries in Africa. You look at Kenya, for example. There is some unicorn companies in Kenya, for example, and what they do is they invest in Kenyans. They want to make sure that the Kenyan population succeed. So we want to do that with South Africans without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. And do you have something maybe on a pipeline that is working along those lines?
So our whole business is going to be run on that. So that's our model. Our model is going to be based on that. So our whole structure and our skeleton of our business is that. So it's not even about a project. It's saying it's something in the pipeline would mean it's a project or it's some initiative that we're running. We're not going to run an initiative or project. Our whole business is that. It's going to have that structure. So when you do walk into an AfriBiz media office, you're only going to see young people around you. Well, majority of them are going to be young. You're going to see people under the age of 35. You can even ask them for their IDs or their passports to see their age. We're going to make sure of that.
Okay. And what is your vision for the future as far as the business is concerned?
So I see AfriBiz Media, we do have a Vision 2030. Our Vision 2030 is that like I said, we want to be in every single African country, well, most African countries by 2030, have at least an office there or do some business there. But we also want to then have a stronghold in the Middle East, right? So like I said, your countries like Bahrain, Kuwait, Lebanon, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar. It's very important for us to play in that space because, you're looking at the UAE, for example, a lot of your businesses all around the world have now opened up extensions or have moved over to the UAE. So you see a lot of them opening up offices in the UAE, and that allows us to do exactly what our mindset or our plan of action is when it comes to getting global business coming in so that we can bring all of that income into South Africa and develop South Africa as well. So that's one of our plans of action. Another thing when it comes to Vision 2030 is that we definitely want to have a very strong market share when it comes to market platforms and media platforms here in South Africa.
Mr. Minty, thank you for joining us today. We hope South Africans are listening. I'm just hoping that the youth is watching and they will take your advice and put them to use. Thank you for joining us and being BuildRSA Build of the Month.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
You won't find it written in